Welcome to the Man Tribe podcast, where we talk about what it means to be a man, what it means to be in a tribe. Today we have Rudy Reyes, the real Rudy Reyes. Rudy is a ReCon Marine. He's a veteran advocate, and he's a conservationist. So we're going to talk about all those amazing things that Rudy does. And the question is where do we start? Welcome, Rudy. It's great to have
you. Welcome, brother. It's so good to hear from you and see you on this platform. As we spoke before, if we were doing this 100 years ago, you and I'd have to be in some Model T, driving radio station to radio station, bringing a couple Coca-Colas, giving a couple bucks. Maybe we could get on the radio show and share some ideas. And it's a blessing that we have the technology and through the world events, as we've got disconnected physically because of COVID, we are now compelled to be connected virtually. So thanks, brother, for having me on. So good to see you again.
I feel you, man. It's a convenience and it's also an inconvenience, right?
Sure. I moved, Alex. Jade and I moved out of Los Angeles during the riots. It got really, really bad because we only lived a few blocks from Wilshire. And this is the first time that Jade had ever been really in combat. It's one thing to play it or to do films about it. It's another thing on the video games. It's another thing to watch or read stories. But this is the first time she was in a riot, and we were driving home, and masses, 80, 100, 120 people running either side of Wilshire, smashing out the windows and then setting things on fire. A police car was on fire. We were picked up by a fellow ReCon brother who is now LA sheriff, and he had body armor in the car. We threw on our plates, and Jade was almost, and she's a professional shooter, the best female professional shooter in this country, one of the best in the world, probably the best in the world. You watch her this year when she's competing, probably the best in the world. But she'd never been, she couldn't understand this totality of violence, so she was ready to rock and roll. She was ready to put some headshots in, right? And it almost got to that, believe it or not. I, on the other hand, immediately went into a protector mode and recognized that we were outnumbered and outgunned. Even with pistols, even with an assault rifle, I would need a machine gun. That means a belt-fed weapon, and grenades, because there's only 3 of us. I would need us all to be so armed in such a way to get a chance at chopping our way out of there. I was so overwhelmed for the next few days with the helicopters flying above us and hearing, and then the rioters started coming through our neighborhoods, and then hearing the explosions and the sirens continuously. I started getting anxiety. I felt more frightened than I felt in Fallujah or Ramadi. I felt more frightened than I felt in Kandahar. I felt more frightened than I've been in the Kenyan countryside or on the border of Somalia, Nairobi, because now I'm a citizen man. I'm no longer a ReCon Marine, no longer a counterterror specialist. I'm trying, thanks to some of your influence. I'm on the path of, thanks to your influence, the father, the head of household, the husband, the king, right? It put me in a completely different space. So she says, baby, I want to get out of here. So I said, well, let's find a place. We moved to Boise, Idaho immediately. A lot of ReCon guys retired that I fought with are here. And so we had to find a place that was peaceful enough for us to regroup spiritually and physically. And it was a fantastic move, but it was just a reset button. So we're moving in about 3 months. We're moving to the East Coast on the ocean. We're going to South Carolina. Charleston, because that's also our base for Force Blue. And all of my work has been down in the Keys, Miami. We've been at the last 2 Super Bowls. So I was in Tampa last year. But this is so interesting. Full circle, Alexander. Full circle. I'm in Los Angeles for this year's Super Bowl with Force Blue, rebuilding and doing deep water cleanup in the harbors of Los Angeles with ReCon Marines, pararescuemen, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, civilians, law enforcement. Everybody that has passion for the ocean will be diving with us to clear these ropes, nets, traps, and debris.
Wow. So let's get
Pretty
into
cool, huh?
I love it, man. And it sounds like, everything has come in full circle. You and I both left Los Angeles. I brought my family up here to Oregon. You went to Boise, Idaho. And it looks like we're leaving Oregon. We just decided a couple of days ago that, there's more action out there and certain communities that need us more than this small rural community. Don't get me wrong.
I'm with you. And did you feel, Alex, that it was also a wonderful reset? But after some time, it's, the gods and God and nature and everything spoke to you that, again, this is a respite and a reset for you to get your gear together, get your family together. And it's now time to go out on the campaign.
Get my nervous system together. This past
yeah. Bro, I'm so healthy, Alex, compared to last time. Well, when we first met, I was on my way back, but I had been going through some serious drug abuse for some time. It's not just the PTSD, or it is PTSD, but not in the ways that it's traditionally defined, because most people don't really talk about it because they've not done the work inside of it. It's what happened, brother, when I fell apart, and that's why Man Tribe was so important for me. Do you remember how much I immersed myself in it? I mean, and a couple times I went a little hard and crazy, but you could really tell it was coming from an authentic place, right? Authentic, a place of pain and a place of hope. What happened, Alex, is that as a ReCon Marine, a very, very structured set of values is in place. And you have to earn your place at the table. Imagine how beautiful, very much in a Zen Buddhist or like in a Christian apostle type way. You have to earn, through sacrifice and pain, a chance to serve more. So it's very counter to a lot of the Western ways of looking at things. You earn or you suffer to get more. I was in a value system, in a structure in which you earn to suffer more, to give more. And when that value system was eroded and broken down by the beauty of that value system, brother, is it is so clearly defined. But guess what? When you become a civilian, there's nothing clearly defined anymore. And so it doesn't quite fit. And due to that discrepancy, I became very self-destructive. You see what I mean?
I do. And it sounds
We've talked a lot about this. We've talked a lot. You and I personally talked a lot about this.
Absolutely. And I want to get into that, but it sounds like when you were in that position on Wilshire in LA, that this might have been the first time where you felt that type of energy on your home turf, and it felt different. Like we a lot of us might have never thought that it would have gotten like this, you know, in the confines of our borders. And sure enough, that happening, you know, on the home turf could have been a whole new experience.
Brother, it was so frightening for me also, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. Think about, and you know, we've talked a lot offline and in our public forum at Man Tribe. You have an idea of my constructs to find my morality, my humble pride, my place in society to be of service. And also, of course, you remember when I first started seeing Jade, remember it's been a few years, and I said, hey, I'm seeing this young girl and she's getting my life fired up. Here we are, a couple of years into our relationship, really strong years, and we've been through the ringer too. But to imagine that now I am in a combat environment with so much hate and discontent all around, and I do not have a team and a platoon of guys that will, without flinching, can absolutely locate, close with, and destroy the enemy. Mm-hmm. And in a sense, that is what gave me peace, Alex. It gave me peace fighting in the most horrible places in the world, because I had a commitment and a fellowship. It was so committed. It gave me a little piece of peace. Back here in Los Angeles, there was no peace. Everybody was to the winds, and there was no clear-cut objective and mission. And so I asked myself, too, you can imagine how painful it was for me. Holy smokes. I'd given up my innocence. I'd given up a lot to serve my country in the capacities, and continuously going to war. And I paid for it in immense pain and struggle afterwards. I was in a mental institution for a year. I was in street fighting, and I was abusing, hardcore, pushing myself to almost to death and suicide through drugs, alcohol, and the reason why is because I did put my emotional and spiritual and patriotic structure to the test for all of us. And now everything I fought for is now right here at home, all over me like a cheap suit. It feels sticky and ugly all over me. And I'm just getting myself together. And now my countrymen here are behaving like adolescent savages. And it was really hard for me to reconcile that even my countrymen are absolutely too childish to recognize these quantum movements. They're childish to not recognize these things, and they're acting out like spoiled children.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is this sense of honor and dignity and fighting the good fight, being out there fighting for freedom, fighting for our rights, and then taking an inner look at what our country has developed into and what the situation is now, and just being really fucking disappointed.
Yes, totally, brother. And I remember when we've talked many times, and you coming from the world of finance, even though people, sometimes I've had conversations, or people have been a little bit brusque with me. Hey, it wasn't my war. I didn't vote for that shit. Hey, we weren't even there for democracy. We were there for, to take their oil. I'm like, so be it. Do you realize that your cheap gas and our top tier economic system has been running on shit like this for the last 100 years? And again, that adolescence, that childlike attitude that grown men and women have. They have no concept because we are so insulated here. And then you got these young men that are willing to push themselves so hard. And then in ReCon, you got to push yourself to try out and go through selection to even get to a place where you can do more. And it's the most dangerous stuff. Brother, in all those wars, so I was in Persian Gulf. pushing from Australia when the towers were hit. And you working in finance and you being in New York, you know how traumatic that was for our nation, for the world, brother. How traumatic it was for the world. And I was a young ReCon Marine, junior guy, point man, already a jumper, diver, scout sniper, explosive mountain warfare, you name it, schooled out 4 years of hard training just to be the junior man, in the 5-man team, right? And I didn't even have a chance to grieve about New York. I didn't have a chance to grieve or get angry about the strike. I got a mission right then and there, and we had to go fight in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So I was into that cold, calculating professional. I didn't even understand the totality of it, brother, but I did understand this, that my job, my honor, and my duty is to give everything I got to succeed in this mission and the next and the next and the next. So when I finally came home 13 months later, what I understand, Alex, and you might be able to speak to it, that there was a while when the nation was really together, that we were really together, and we were all holding each other through the immense loss of our countrymen being killed innocently in the towers. After I came home, I had been to war, I'd been fighting, and I was blessed. I thought that I'd fulfilled my duty, but then I got the word that we will be going to Iraq long before the civilians did. So I went to Kuwait months and months before to practice and train, and then months before that preparing stateside for the invasion of Iraq. I never questioned. It wasn't my place to question where I go and where I fight. With a full heart and dignity, I just did my duty, and I believed in my country, that my country will understand what to do. And military people, to include the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they're just mid-level management. The 4-star general, he's just mid-level management. We do not make policy. We only execute orders. We have a saying in the Marine Corps: it is not mine to ask who, what, or why, only to do or die. And there's a beautiful poetry in that. And so that's what I did with most of my young adulthood. And
so I just have a question for you.
Sure.
If you want to finish that thought.
Sure. Well, when I finally and I left Fallujah and Ramadi after my second enlistment, finally got home, I was out of the Marine Corps within 3 weeks of returning from bloodbath, and I took my Marine Corps knowledge and immediately put myself into the workforce as a boxing coach and a trainer, and then I was a competitor as well. And all I did, and what I did, is what I knew how to do: keep moving forward. However, I had not processed any of the loss yet, and that's probably eventually what caught up with me. And I think the loss, Alex, it catches up with all of us. So until we come home to ourselves and integrate the shadow, a dear brother of mine, Ian Asbury, he's the lead singer of the Cult. He's a dear brother, and we speak on this a lot. And he's been doing some deep work. He's he's close to the Dalai Lama. He's done some work in Tibet, and of course, he's been very heavy in Native American and and First Nations rights. And we speak on that. Until we integrate the shadow, we will be in a funeral of our own life.
Yeah, this is a topic that I'm so passionate about. As you know, I started Man Tribe. I work with men. Most of the work we do is about integrating the shadow, so we can live a better life. And I've had to integrate my shadow after being in finance and real estate, and just that privilege of being a white American male, of being able to fucking do whatever I wanted, and just having that abundance, privilege, freedom of choice, freedom of almost everything, really. There's certain things that we might not have freedoms, but we have more freedoms than probably anyone else in the world, you know.
Look, historically, there's never been a better time to be on this planet. And then if you think about being an American,
Yeah.
we're the tippy top of these opportunities.
Yeah, and it damn sure ain't perfect, but look at us right here. We're on our own radio platform, freedom of speech,
Certainly.
you know, and we're going to put this out there. So there's a lot of things to be grateful for, a lot of things to be grateful. And, you know, I want to stay on this topic of integrating the shadow because I feel like it's so important for everyone right now. And my question for you, Rudy, is when you went into the Marine Corps, it sounded like you were just there to show up. You were there to show up, be the best man that you could be, do your duty, and you know, get the mission done. That's what I heard from you. You know,
it's so true. I joined because of my extreme Zen Buddhist practice at the time through all my martial arts. I joined because we were going to war in Kosovo. And I thought it was my duty as a strong young man to do my part. And I was just an infantryman. And I was the best of the best of us. I was the honor grad in Iron Man and School of Infantry and boot camp and all of this. And so I was, by happenstance or by God, I was given this opportunity that no one got to go try out. Normally you have to do 4 years in the Marine Corps first before you can try out, right? I joined to just do my part. I had no idea really how to use weapon systems. I'd never killed anybody, meaning I was not enthralled to hurt and kill, but I had this deep sense of responsibility to at least offer some part. If young men were going to have to go fight and die, to offer some part. And then that continued to grow, and it was layered upon more skills, more ability. And you've seen some of my brothers from the unit and from other special operations units, Alex, they're really high vibration people. So imagine if you right now, bro, had another 20 guys that are high vibration like you, and you get to work out every day. You get to push yourself in extreme ways in the ocean, out of helicopters and planes, in the deserts and the jungles. How bonding that would be when we talk about man tribe. Think about how bonding that would be, and this higher bandwidth that you're existing on. Now the other side of it is it's so extreme it cannot be sustained. That's the other part of it. I won't say downside. It's just the other part of it. The shadow, if you will. That's the shadow. And how do we now, as veterans of life, how do we integrate the beauty that we had at youth and the innocence and the energy where we're high vibration, high bandwidth? And now as we settle into our middle age and we're working on our, kingship, and we have our castle that we protect, and our women and children, and our fellowship brothers who are the knights, how do we now integrate? How do we integrate what cannot be captured in the same way of our youth into where we're at now? Because we do need to integrate.
Rudy, do you feel that most people, they join the military in order to find tribe and to find purpose?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You nailed it right there. The Marine Corps in particular is a cult. It's the smallest branch of all. They offer you nothing. Dog, this is so amazing. So if you go to the recruiter, they say, what can you do for the Marine Corps? They don't talk about college or, hey, you're going to get some job skills. It's not the Army. It's not the Air Force. It's not the Navy. know that all the young men that go there, brother, are there specifically for manhood and tribe, period.
Mm. And was that was your experience as well?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. And what's so beautiful too about the Marine Corps is the beginnings of it, brother. It's just extremely hard and very and a continuous attack on the ego. You're a janitor with a rifle. All you do is clean, and you live in very Spartan barracks, and you clean and you work out. And if you're willing to be very aggressive and intelligent, then you'll have a chance to do more aggressive stuff. But behind it, you're always cleaning and you're always on duty. You're always standing watch. And I'm glad it's that way, because the glamour is completely stripped away. No, it's not a video game. It's not an action movie. You see what I mean? It's really there's a piece of monkhood there. Yeah. And that's also why we in the Marine Corps, we tend not to retain our people for very long. There's only so long men can go like that, right?
It sounds like it's a rite of passage, and it ain't
Very much so.
It ain't fun, and it ain't supposed to be fun.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And you want to talk about growing up, that'll grow you up. Because how many times in our personal life and in our second chapter of life, we have to do and are in environments that are totally not fun.
And there's this element of, I just got out of a peyote ceremony in Joshua Tree. I stayed up 48 hours straight. Was that fun? Fuck no. Did it make me, not everybody stayed up 48 hours, but I had my kid there. My wife and I, we were, in ceremony. And so we were up during the day while people were sleeping. And then it's 2 nights ceremony. So we stay up all night. And then most people sleep during the day. It wasn't an option because full on parenting, right? So, but like this sleep deprivation, sort of just doing what you're told when you're tired, right? This idea of tired, you realize it's just complaining in a way.
Yes. Tired is a state of mind. Do you remember when we were training you and I and the crew at Man Tribe? And a couple of our sessions, they ended up going like 4 or 5 hours, and with the ice baths and then the power breathing and yoga. And then we were doing a lot of Kung Fu. And then we got into freaking body hardening. Hours and hours go by. And I would express to you, and this is how I was taught, fatigue is natural. Tired is a state of mind. It's okay to be fatigued, but tired is a state of mind. And we are human beings, and our capacity for living is so high. I with Sadhguru and Mike Tyson. Wild scene. Mike Tyson and Sadhguru, right? And Sad said simply, like, when there was a lot of his, what would you call them?
Wait, these two men were together somewhere? Where was this?
Yes, I was at Mike Tyson's house.
Okay.
Yeah, what a wild scene.
And Sadhguru was there.
And Sadhguru and me and Mike and Dennis Rodman is hanging out over there, very shy. And Sad, and there were some of his followers there, some pretty powerful, wealthy people in LA and New York. And they were asking him all these questions, and it was so silly. I mean, you could tell they adored him, and it almost made him sick. He says, well, what are you complaining for? I mean, did you want to be born as an earthworm? Very easy as an earthworm. You only have 2 things to do: eat dirt and procreate. If that's what you want, you can try to be an earthworm, but you've been blessed to be a human. Of course it's tough, and of course it's painful sometimes, and of course it's confusing, because we have every choice in the world. So what do you want to do? Really beautifully stated. And so here we are. So when we do these very difficult things that give us great fatigue, but it's because look at the myriad of choices and the opportunities for growth that we have as human beings. that these other life forms do not have.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And, you know, so many choices. I think a lot of people just get overwhelmed with all the choices. And it's like they can't handle all the choices, so they start to numb or check out or you know, how do you feel like the choices when you were in the Marine Corps? Did you have less choices? And then when you came out, did you have more choices? What was that like?
Yes, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was, for my first 4 or 5 years, I was ordered which schoolhouses I had to show up at, what events and or missions I had to do. I got orders. And so it was very, very simple. And then I would back plan on the timeline and prepare myself and execute. It was beautiful because it was absolutely so simple. Now, underneath that simplicity, if you can imagine in the cover of darkness, jumping out with your amphib gear and Zodiac boats folded up into the ocean 26 miles out, nautical miles out, and then pumping up the boats in the freaking ocean and zooming in till 5 kilometers away from the beach, and then putting on my freaking combat dive gear and inserting. So tons of very, very meticulous tasks under stress. Yet the objective was clear. Get to the beach. If anyone is there that is the enemy, you kill the enemy and then patrol 20 kilometers inland and then set up your observation post, your OP, and your sniper positions, and then collect on the enemy and then do the direct action raid in a few days. It was very simple. That does not mean easy. So simplicity doesn't mean easy. But that structure, I think young people, especially young men, thrive in structure. And when I did not have that structure, I did the best I could, but there were so many choices. You know, I intuitively just did a few things, but it was not integrated. And my society that I was living in San Diego and in very wealthy societies there as their coach, trainer, so on and so forth. Very few people reflected back to me those same kind of ideals. I did have one family, an amazing Jewish family from New York, the Blocks. And Cindy brought me into the family, and both their parents were survivors of the Holocaust and World War II, self-made, and they worked in finance. And Cindy was an artist. Larry, the patriarch, was a finance guy, brilliant, looked like Al Pacino, and they had twins. And I taught and trained the twins, who are now very, very successful people too, and they have kids. But being New Yorkers, and from September 11th, and from the Holocaust, and from a community that they had to earn and work to be somebody, they very much reflected what I held dear to my heart, and they would take me around the world with them. But the rest of my people and clients, and that's the first time there was women, drugs, parties, all the bullshit, and I didn't know how to engage with it, and I started kind of losing it. Then I started drinking a lot, and but I was so fit on the outside, nobody could tell, and because I couldn't sleep at night. When I got into the film and television business, when I did Generation Kill, and now I'm in Hollywood, there was nobody there that I connected with, and so I fell apart. And the military and service, it gives you a very clear-cut direction. It is a sacrifice, but looking back, I would recommend any young man or woman that doesn't know what to do with themselves yet, or does not have a really strong family, if they need that tribe, it is there. And there are opportunities to move yourself up if you're willing to work harder and smarter and sacrifice a little more than other people, or a lot more. The sky is the limit. It is a wonderful bedrock. However, because war fighting, it takes young bodies and young nervous systems. You can't do it forever. You can't do it forever. And there's a reason why the infantry is called the infantry. It comes from enfant, the French word for child. There's a reason why it's called child soldiers, because when you're young and resilient, you can do all this. When you get older, you write a new chapter, and if you don't, then you will die by the sword or die by your own hand. I think Nietzsche said, in times of peace, it was Nietzsche, in times of peace, a man of war will turn upon himself. And that was 120 years ago.
Yeah. So much truth to that quote right there. So what would you tell the strong young jock in high school right now? You know, he might have his tribe on his football team. He might have his boys on his basketball team, or, you know, his crew. What, you know, he's looking for that significance when he goes out of high school. He's looking for that next chapter, that next step. He wants to feel like he has a purpose and a role. What would you tell that young man, you know, who's you know, athletic and confident and wants to be of service? Would you recommend that they go into the military today?
I would recommend the military for any young man or young woman that wants to connect to a tribe and is willing to take on core values. I have since I've become a little bit known in the veteran space and in the action space, I get messages every week of young people and people that are in their mid-20s too, that pursued their college or career, but feel that something is missing. Everyone that does an enlistment 4 years will learn so much about themselves and about the world. I absolutely recommend military service, because also genetically, throughout time, this has been the rite of passage and the way forward. And if not, our tribes were murdered by the bigger tribes, right? Intangible that I have received from all of my service and work for the government since. In no other environment does a person get the opportunity to work with such diverse backgrounds and diverse cultures in a pressure cooker environment where everyone has one set of values and core values. And it's magical. It will teach you the world. More importantly, it'll teach you the human experience, which will help you when you get into later parts of your life. There's something, I mean, you know, you working in finance and real estate, you understand, because of experience, experiential knowledge, what makes people tick and where people are going to come to you and why they're going to come to you and what base drives they're looking to fulfill. And next step up, what are their art drives and emotional and community drives? When you put yourself in those environments continuously, you become better equipped to be a real man.
Yeah, absolutely. We're adaptable human beings, and whatever environment we're in, we adapt. And it sounds like there's no environment like the Marine Corps. You know, there's no substitute for it. And, you know, here I am. I'm a guy who is always an athlete, and I consider myself on the spiritual path now. But I've never been in the military, you know, and I think there's a certain aspect of discipline that only the military, only the tribe of a military can provide. And it's a core thing that my grandfathers, you know, served, and
get some.
My other grandfather was he was a firefighter, you know, so
served as well.
Yeah. So I think it's something that's definitely in my blood. You know, people serve their country, and there's a certain discipline that comes to that. And I just look at my upbringing, and it's almost like I feel like I lacked a lot of that discipline. I lacked a lot of that structure, and I wanted it, but outside of the military,
it's genetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a genetic pool for all of us. You know how, think about the heroes we had when we were little children, and how we contest, and you're going to wrestle and scrap in the schoolyard, or you're going to play some street football, when you're 8, 9 years old, and when you're out and you got recess and it's kickball, you want to be either the team captain or the first one picked. These are innate. And the military is just is a traditional route to continue that innate push and that innate competitive spirit. And there's a reason, I believe now, Alex, and you could maybe speak to this, and this is why you have me involved in your podcast, and why we've been involved together in the work, in men's work. There's a need to integrate the militant with the citizen. We both have things to learn from each other, and one or the other is not complete. They need to be integrated, and that's why now you are of service absolutely continuously to your wife and your child, and then to a larger tribe of men and their families, because these men that work with you, their quantum environment, it reaches across the globe. So there's absolutely something innate about service and competition. And they seem on the surface very different, service and competition, but they are integrated as the light on the sculpture you make of your life. Without a shadow, you will not see any of the relief. You need them both.
I love it. We're talking about self-discipline. We're also talking about that discipline that's sort of instilled upon us, right? And I wake up at the ass crack of dawn. I wake up before the sun every morning.
Love it.
I've disciplined myself to do that. And I'm not going to say it was easy, but I just sort of trained myself to do it. And I know that the military can train you to do that. You can do that a lot of different ways. Do you think there's any difference between like that self-discipline and then the discipline that sort of comes from outside?
Let us call it self-discipline and societal discipline or community discipline.
Yeah.
So when you're in the military, you have a community discipline. What is special about ReCon, and what's probably, I'll be 50 years old in 7-8 months.
No way.
What sets me apart from everybody else in my field is because of this self-discipline from childhood and wrestling and martial art, and then in the Marine Corps. Not only are we disciplined for our unit, but we individually, my teammates, brother, we worked out 2 or 3 times a day because we enjoyed it together and we competed. So we would lift weights and swim and run or do martial arts every day we were not in the field. What set us apart than the regular infantry and other fighting forces is that the passion for discipline, because we know that discipline is a major component of freedom. And that on the surface seems counterintuitive. But discipline is what's made you free, Alex. Have you noticed that? I mean, you've become much freer here and here. You're in much better condition, which means your self-esteem is higher. Therefore, the creative bandwidth is larger.
Yeah.
So the discipline, self-discipline, is the way within that gives you the ability to go forward. It has to come within first, and then you can go forward. It's real freedom. Self-discipline is freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way that you explain that. And, I know you're doing a lot of service work now that you're out of the Marine Corps, and it seems like you're showing up in a very different way, but there's still a mission, there's still a tribe, there's still a purpose. and you're loving it.
Oh, absolutely. And you're speaking about Force Blue, forceblueteam.org. Get on the site, get involved. You'll see us on TV. Geico did commercials about us. We're now partnered with the NFL and PepsiCo. We've been at the last 2 Super Bowls, rebuilding coral reefs in Miami and in Tampa. Now we're doing a massive ocean cleanup subsurface in LA for next year's Super Bowl. The coral reefs in the United States, we have our barrier reef through the Florida Reef Tract is the only reef we have in our country. And if we look at Miami and the Keys, there's a reason why it's such a financial and cultural epicenter. The ocean is gorgeous. The beaches are beautiful. Communities can thrive in natural environments. Well, these reefs are being damaged and destroyed by overpopulation globally, climate change globally, and that we're overstressing these beautiful hypertrophic cascades of life through overfishing and tourism with those massive ocean liners. We in Force Blue, we take combat divers, commandos like myself from all forces, and repurpose and retool these amazing military skills to now do ocean conservation. We have a mission of virtue. We have tried and true, totally battlefield tested men that are the best and the brightest, emotionally and spiritually, to do what they did. And also, as the reefs are in danger, and when you're out on that ocean and you don't look down, everything seems beautiful, but underneath, the life is in danger. Well, there's the same thing about us warriors. Back here in the civilian world, we can make things look just fine, but inside, our life form is in danger because those community values, the passion, and the identity is gone. With Force Blue, we reclaim our identity, but we do it in such a beautiful, healthy way. It'll blow your mind. We just unveiled to our inner team, 22 of us at Force Blue. We started with the concept, a logo, and an idea 5 years ago. I'm a co-founder. And now we have 22 freaking warriors, and it's going to be 2,200 before you know it.
Yeah. I was going to ask if you're recruiting at Force Blue.
All the time. And now that we have state and federal money, we're a nonprofit, but this is, and we've talked about this in the past, a few years ago. For me, learning to understand business and financial modeling is what's helped get us here. That's why we have these massive partners now. And you must always, and I'll tell every man out there, you must absolutely add value to the people, the community, the team that you're in. If you are of value and add value, magic things happen. Never get the freaking cart in front of the horse, though. Don't think that you want something so bad, but you're not thinking of your investing in your personal value so that you can be of value to pull that dream, desire, ambition, mission. You've got to pull it. You can't have it and then expect you to be included. You need to pull it. So the value. Now we're, of course, a value to our country here stateside for ocean conservation, protecting and saving turtles, getting turtles to hospital, cleaning, rebuilding, giving medicine at depth to coral reefs, cleaning, moving, removing debris and nets and cables that drag across the reefs and destroy them, and or in California can destroy the kelp forests and all of the habitat for the amazing animals that live there. We are adding value to our country, to economies, because as our environment improves in these places, we continue to have thriving finance, thriving tourism, and there's something special about being on beautiful beaches and beautiful oceans and beautiful mountains and beautiful trees, because that's the higher power speaking to us. So because we individually, Roger Sparks, myself, RJ Casello, or RJ Casey, Jake Casello, all these beautiful brothers, and then University of Miami, NOAA, NFL, we've got private sector, we've got extreme marine biologist scientists, we've got Patty Gross, we've got Ladd Atkins. We're bringing together the super team, the freaking Avengers of ocean conservation. And we have created a model that I think when the rest of the world embraces this model, not just for conservation, but I mean for community, there's nothing we can't do. That's what Force Blue is about.
Yeah, I love it. I love the mission. I love what you stand for. I can feel your passion for it. You know, when I grew up, my favorite characters, my favorite superheroes were the G.I. Joes, of course.
Sure.
But you know, Captain Planet had a special
Yes.
place. He had a special place in my heart. And
for sure, brother. You already intuitively knew that our world and the beauty of nature is the ultimate innocent child that we need to protect. It's our duty to protect the beauty and innocence that inspires us all. And you know, when we're grandfathers and great grandfathers, we will still marvel just as we were when we were children, looking at the trees and animals and birds and hiking up that mountain, or getting into that ocean and looking at the we call it charismatic megafauna. The first time you get to dive with massive manta rays and whale shark and sharks and turtles, and you see these sentient beings and they communicate to you, brother, it does something inside you. And that's why I live for it. And you, even as a kid, intuitively knew that we're here to protect this beautiful mother.
Yes. Yeah, and that, you know, that's definitely what my mission is about these days. And you know, I look back at, you know, I would ask myself, I said, what are we protecting if we don't have a planet? You know, if there's no planet left, you know, what are we fighting for if Mother Nature's not doing so well? So
that's right.
That's beautiful. Do you?
And what a beautiful way to change narrative. So initially, when we started working with the scientists, they were very standoffish, right? Like, who are these freaking gun dudes, these freaking jocks, badass dudes that are a bit intimidating? How the hell why are they here with us? And what is this about? And then some of my hard operator brothers were like, man, F these tree huggers, and man, these weak bodies. These, you know, we were coming from two different places, right? I'll tell you what, these scientists, Dalton and Maddie and Ladd Atkins and Patty Gross and the Cousteau Foundation and Fabian Cousteau, who I know personally, they freaking love and embrace us so much now because we add value and can do things underwater that no one else can. And we love them because we see that they are warriors in their own right. They're true believers and warriors in their own right. And we value and respect them immensely. This is a beautiful model for how to bring communities together, all communities.
Wow, you know, and it's like you came together to be that bridge for a mission, for a common good, for a purpose that was greater than any individual. And it's like, it sounded like a lot of shit came up for a lot of people, and people had to look at
it totally did. It's like therapy stuff, right? And so we do therapy too. We have a therapist there, and then the greatest therapy is being on the boat working together with all of us of different generations of warrior and scientists, and seeing everybody laughing and smiling like little children, doing this incredible, this God's work. It is amazing. It seemed, you're right. In the beginning, it was everybody, as you said, it was all their darknesses and fears and resentments that had kept us all apart in the first place. By insisting on a mission that we all agree is important, we had to work through those things And now there's no stronger team. Well, you've seen some of the films and the documentaries that you'll see out there on Force Blue. Brother, it's nothing short of magic.
Yeah. It sounds like all the right pieces came together at the right time, and, people showing up in a good way. And what a model, what a representation for the world at large, what a representation or prime example for our country. We got people on the right fighting with people on the left, and
Yep.
the separation that you describe is this, like, the separation between the scientists or the nature lovers and then the people who have, fought in wars and live, had a very different reality. The fact that those people can come together and say, hey, we got work to do, and
That's right.
we're willing to look past our differences and do
That's
that
right.
work. It's just so beautiful.
Similar to, and think about in that ocean too, brother. I use it as a parallel. Once we get underneath the surface of our individual lives, we realize that we are together in the ocean of consciousness and humanity. We have to go below the surface. And when we do, there's no division. But you must take that deep breath and go below the surface in one's life. And if others are willing to do that, you'll find that in that sea, the ocean of humanity and goodness, you are all of the same tribe. You're all of the same tribe.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And,
thanks, Brian.
Yeah, just honoring you for doing that work and showing up in that way, and staying, in purpose and in service. I can only imagine what that's like, to come out of the Marine Corps and to have that tribe, to have that purpose, to be in the present moment, all the time, and to have that rush, right? That feeling of,
It
like,
is.
it's on, it's on. I have a purpose. I know what the mission is. And then to get out and to come back to the civilian world, to come back to this life, as this city life or this urban life,
Yes.
and to just say, wait, what's the mission now? And we look at, PTS. I don't even like saying the PTSD.
Yeah.
I think it's just stress. It's not a disorder. But,
yes.
It's like, we all got stress, and that certain stress from war is a whole nother level of stress, because it affects the nervous system. But like coming back from that, right? Coming back from that and being in just civilian life, it's obviously one of the hardest things for.
I agree with you. The stress is so much more difficult being now hardwired and software uploaded for the stress of warfare, which, if I look at it the way I look at it, it was much more simple there. And in a lot of ways, much less stressful, because it was very simple. And since you've made your peace with death, because you've been involved with death so much, that's the fear component is gone. And then you come back out here with a myriad of choices and comfort, but no clearly defined left and right lateral limits. Everything's open to you. It's so overwhelming. And then, of course, you're missing your brothers. Some of them are dead. Some of them have gone. Some of them are still in, or some of them are out. But we go to different parts of the country and the world ultimately when we get out. Being alone and very afraid in this comfortable world is what drives most of us insane.
Yeah. I was just about to say that, Rudy. I think loneliness is the number one killer of men.
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
And that's why this is so important, brother. And why do you think when we used to get together in your backyard, I mean, wow, we had some wild cats from all different walks. We were all there to reconnect to that sacred hero tribe, that archetype, that father, that king, that squire. We were there because because we did not have it in other parts of our life. We needed to go there to do the thing. And now COVID in some ways was very magical. It's exposed the untruths of so-called civilized society.
Yeah.
The untruths are that we are just islands individually, and that we can continue to pursue materialism, and somehow that will make us feel good. And it does not.
Yeah, I like to say this pandemic exposed all the real crises that we're facing. This sickness exposed all the real sicknesses of our ways of being, that are not serving us. And there's a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of pandemics that the way I see it are way more severe than
I agree with you.
What's on the news,
I agree with you 100%, brother. I agree with you 100%. I agree. And this is a wonderful opportunity to expose and dispel and really get to the root, get to the essence. I mean, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time. And, strangely, and I'm blessed, and I know that so many people out there right now are struggling, especially financially, because the markets and work itself, the models have changed. Jade and I have been doing very well, but also we intuitively knew when we left Los Angeles. I have a big house now, a big dog and yards and very nice air. I was paying more in Los Angeles for a place, a fraction of this size, and ambient city stress all the time. I intuitively knew make a smaller footprint, and because of my retirement from the Marine Corps, we can hunker down, we can refit and refuel. And because of that calmness, I've had more films and modeling. I've got a big, big opportunity in the UK for a very successful show out there. I can't tell you what it is yet, but because we took those 3 or 4 months to refit, refuel, and to get really tapped in, these bountiful things are happening. Force Blue is blooming. My work is blooming. My health is blooming.
Beautiful. Rudy, I got a question for you. So do you ever think in the future that the military, the government will redirect its soldiers to missions like the mission that you're doing now internally? Do you ever think we're going to say, hey, let's stop going overseas with guns and doing that stuff? Are we going to move these infantry, move this service internally to heal, this land?
It would be incredible. The military force is such a powerful, energetic force. What a model. And some of my men on my team are still reservists, still in the units. We are looking also at creating a transition process and program for active duty and reservist warriors to come work with us so that they start getting some life skills for out here. Some of these people, we have a 2-star general that's on my board. This will affect through our relationship and community of the military, the culture in the military as well. I think the ultimate service is for the human race. Now, the downside is that the human species and the human animal is very violent, aggressive, and selfish. But the human being is connected to the source. It's timeless and eternal. I would love to see us in another 300 years, Force Blue in 300 years, and Force Green. And we're using our militaries and warrior spirit to do conservation, prepare and equip new generations to honor the mother, and maybe even start creating ReCon Marines that go into space and terraform and recreate things too. The real war is within. The wars are all within. I'm doing my very best to make that change,
Yeah. Beautiful. So I just want to wrap it up here, but it's been such an honor and pleasure to talk to you, Rudy, about these things and dive deep on these topics. I believe in prayer and action.
Yes.
We can have an intention, we can have a vision, we can have a dream, but if it's not followed up by some action and some discipline and some showing up every single day, it might not happen. So my last question for you, I like to end on this, is what is your prayer? What is your prayer for humanity? It could be related to the work that you're doing. It could be related to Force Blue, but what do you want to see? What direction do you want to see us go?
From my heart, I know the only way forward is to go within. As we sort out our pains and scars and put in place with values and with love our ambitions, we can turn the tide in this beautiful, gorgeous blue planet, so that we do honor to our Creator, and we do honor to our countrymen. We do honor to the children that will be coming from our children, our grandchildren. I pray that I do everything in my power to inspire the next generation, that will inspire the next, and that will inspire the next, and that will inspire the next. So when 1,000 years from now, Alex, when the historians and our people look back, they say, man, the earth was at a critical mass, and things seemed like they were so dark that the end was coming. And some very special people took action and brought everybody they could together to make the change. And this is the beauty that we're living in now because of it. That is my prayer, and that's my hope.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll say is I love that you took personal responsibility fully in that prayer. And that's the embodiment, brother, of what every human being could do, I hear in the spiritual communities, I see it, I witness it. A lot of people pray for stuff out there, and I see,
Yes.
brother, because just like you, my prayer is for myself. It's, if I can pray for anything, it's for my life, my health, my actions, my awareness, all of that first and foremost.
It's got to start within. It's got to start within.
That's it. So thank you for that. Thank you for showing up in the way that you do, brother. And all systems go.
For sure, brother. I love it. Infinite go. I love you, brother. We'll do this again.
Yes. Have a great day, Rudy.
All right. You too, baby.